One of the things that make Season 1 of Arcane a truly special season of television for me, and just a special media in general, is the way it handles oppression and oppressive systems, and how people that are being oppressed can escape these oppressive systems, what it will cost, what it will take, and the damage it will do. Debatably, my favorite line in all of Arcane is actually the title of Season 1, Episode 3, The Base of Violence Necessary for Change. In order to continue this video, I want to go over the situation that Silco and Vander find themselves in at the start of Season 1. Zaun is a mess. The air is not breathable, the water is not drinkable, people are starving, people are dying, there are just disgusting catastrophes happening all over the city. And Vander is in a position where he has seen war. He knows what a violent uprising can do to the people, he's seen the sacrifice it takes, he's seen the violence, and he does not want to relive this. So what does he do? He makes deals, and he appeases the people of Piltover. He does his best to keep things nice and neat, he plays the middleman, he works out deals with the leaders of Piltover and with the enforcers that have been enforcing all of this oppression on Zaun throughout all of these years. And what's really interesting is even though it's sort of working, it really isn't, because while there isn't an all-out war being broken out, the situation in Zaun isn't getting better, it's just getting worse and worse over time. It's just that rate of decay is being slightly slowed, but it's still decaying nonetheless. And Silco, who is the antagonist of our story, recognizes this, and he understands that in order to make an actual change, in order to change the way Piltover sees Zaun, Zaun has to be an independent nation. They have to be run by themselves and have control over their own actions and over their own lifestyle. But in order to do this, you would have to disconnect them from Piltover, and that's not something that Piltover would ever allow, because Zaun is a resource for them. They get a lot of their coal and a lot of their energy and a lot of their resources from Zaun, so to lose it would be a huge hit to their economy. Silco understands this and tries to explain to Vander that if there's going to be any change, if his children are ever going to be safe, if there's ever going to be any true future for the people of Zaun, there needs to be a base violence necessary for change. And what he means by this is just appeasing Piltover, just going with the flow, just allowing them to kind of walk all over them in the way that they have been, will not actually solve anything. It will just keep making the problem worse and worse, because they will continue to be reliant on Piltover. So he comes to the conclusion that he must do something so outlandish, so disruptive, so difficult for Piltover to deal with, that they can't look away from it, they have to address it, and there is going to be a massive conflict regarding addressing it. But after that conflict has been eventually resolved, regardless of the sacrifice, regardless of the pain, regardless of the suffering that will come from it, in the future this violence will be necessary because Zaun will eventually be a free nation. I feel that in many ways, Silco is a utilitarian, and a utilitarian is a philosophy and a way of thinking in which a person goes with the option that regardless of the sacrifice or potential loss, whatever option generates the most profit or the best outcome in the long run is the outcome and the choice that they will make. And this is the choice that Silco makes. He knows there is going to be suffering, he knows it's going to be difficult, he knows it's going to be a bloody battle to free Zaun, but he has to do what he has to do. In many ways, he is a rebel. He is funding and leading a rebellion from or towards Piltover. I believe that Silco has a lot in common with Luthen Rael, who is the true rebel leader in Andor Season 1 and Season 2, and both of these characters have to get their hands dirty. They have to do a lot of things that are morally gray and morally bad in order to ensure a future peace and a beautiful life for the people that they care about. And even though they are actively becoming worse people for it, and when history looks back on Silco and Luthen, they will look back on them with shame and kind of view them as these evil people, they don't really care because they recognize what needs to be done to have the best outcome for their future generations. And what a lot of people tend to forget or overlook regarding the character of Silco and how he handles oppression in Arcane Season 1 is even though he's a terrible person in a lot of ways, his methods end up working. Sure, does he make this drug that is harming a lot of people, and are a lot of people caught in the crossfire between and during with his war for Piltover and Zaun? Absolutely, but at the end of the day, he did win freedom for Zaun. I don't know why so many people forget this, but in the finale of Season 1, Jace comes to the council and basically tells them, guys, we have made a bunch of mistakes. Silco and the people of Zaun have brought to my attention that we have destroyed this city, we have destroyed their people, they are hurt, they are dying, and clearly whatever we are doing is not helping. We are not actually making them better, we are making their lives a lot worse. Jace explains to the council that having an outright war with Silco and with Zaun will destroy both cities and that it isn't worth the sacrifice, and that when you look at all the factors and all the reasons that the rebellion has been forming in Zaun, it makes perfect sense as to why they would want their freedom, and the best course of action would be to just give it to them. So at the end of Season 1, even though Silco is a bad person and does a lot of bad things, his methods end up working, and I believe that if Zaun was left to handle itself, slowly but surely it probably would have been better for it because it would have actually had people in charge that would have cared. I'm not saying it would have been perfect, I'm not saying it would have been an overnight fix where sure, they're free now and now everything's perfect. No, it would take time, it would take years, it would take decades for Zaun to fix itself, but at the end of the day, not having their water be polluted, not having their air be polluted, not having their people be forced into mine shafts would definitely be a net positive overall for the future of the city. It is only after Jinx ruins this deal by shooting an actual missile at the council that everything goes back to being terrible. For a quick little moment there at the end of the season, the base violence necessary for change actually ended up working. Silco's plan was going to help, it was going to make an actual difference for Zaun until it is ruined by Jinx, unfortunately. And I think this is a really important thing to note, because right now in our society, in our world, we are seeing the base violence necessary for change play out all around us. The war for Piltover and Zaun is happening in our own country, in our own lands, and with our own people. Now, I am not going to sit here and say I am the most educated person on all of these complex political topics that are going on in the world right now, because I'm not. I'm still really young and really new to this whole process, and I'm just trying to find myself and find a way to succeed in this world without becoming a terrible person, if I'm being quite honest. But this right here is exactly why I always say media is so important to read, media is so important to digest and to consume and to analyze, because these are things, these are concepts that are pretty much foreign to being told to you throughout school. For most of us, these are things that even our parents aren't aware of because it's not something they've ever actually gone out and researched and studied on their own. And I find myself in this really interesting situation where I'm watching all of the political discourse that is happening on my phone, in front of me in the real world with all of these elections coming up, and I'm just thinking like, man, this is exactly what was going on in Arcane. This is exactly what was going on in the show that I watched a few years ago and loved so much, and it's all making way too much sense. But yeah, with all that being said, for those of you that have been subscribed, waiting for me to make more Arcane content, there is more coming soon, I promise, because I find it to be very relevant to talk about considering the climate of the world that we are currently in. But yeah, if you liked this video, please let me know in the comments down below what you thought. Let me know what other kind of content you'd like to see, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.